My name is Evan Whitaker, and this is the moment I realized how far my family was willing to go to protect one person by sacrificing another. It happened by accident. I wasn't supposed to hear it. I had stopped by my parents' house to drop off some documents my mother had asked for. The house was quiet when I walked in, the kind of quiet that usually means someone is home but not expecting company. I heard voices coming from the study and assumed they knew I was there. They didn't. I slowed down when I recognized my father's voice, low and deliberate. My brother, Mark Whitaker, responded in hushed tones. Something in the way they spoke made me pause just outside the doorway. I told myself I'd announce myself in a second. I never did. Mark sounded nervous. He said he didn't know what to do, that things had gotten messy and people were asking questions. He said he was afraid the truth would come out. I didn't know what truth he meant, but my stomach tightened anyway. That's when my father, Harold Whitaker, said the words I still hear clearly. "Don't worry," he told Mark. "If it comes down to it, we'll say it was your sister's fault." There was a short silence, and then Mark exhaled like a man being handed permission to breathe again. My sister, Claire Whitaker. I felt like the air had been knocked out of me. Claire had always been the responsible one, the peacemaker, the one who showed up early, stayed late, and cleaned up after everyone else. Hearing her name used like a shield for someone else's mistakes made my hands shake. I stood there, frozen, listening as my father continued. He said Claire was emotional, that people already questioned her judgment. He said it would be believable. He said families had to protect their own, and Mark needed protecting right now. No one mentioned Claire's life, her job, her reputation, the consequences she would carry. Mark agreed. He said he hated that it had to be this way, but he couldn't afford things falling apart. My father reassured him again. He said they would handle it, that Claire would recover, that she always did. Something inside me broke quietly. I walked away without making a sound and left the house the same way I came in. I sat in my car for a long time, staring at the steering wheel, trying to understand what I had just heard. It wasn't just about blame. It was about choice. A deliberate decision to let one child fall so another could stand. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about all the times Claire had been subtly blamed for things she didn't cause. Family arguments, financial mishaps, emotional fallout. I had noticed it before, but never named it. Now it had a shape, a strategy. The next day, I called Claire. I asked her how she was doing. She said she was fine, like she always did. I asked if anything strange had been happening lately. She hesitated, then said she felt like people were treating her differently. She said our parents had been distant. She said Mark barely spoke to her anymore. I told her the truth. There was a long silence on the line. Then she laughed softly, not because it was funny, but because something finally made sense. She said she wasn't surprised. She said she'd spent her whole life being the easiest explanation when things went wrong. Hearing her say that hurt more than what I'd overheard. I asked her what she wanted to do. She said she didn't want a confrontation. She just wanted to protect herself. I told her I would back her up no matter what. And I meant it. When the situation finally came into the open weeks later, the script played out exactly as I had heard it rehearsed. My parents hinted. Mark deflected. Claire's name was gently placed into conversations like an afterthought, like it belonged there. I didn't stay quiet. I spoke up in front of everyone. I said I knew what had been planned. I said I had heard the conversation. I said Claire was not going to carry blame for something she didn't do. The room went silent. My father looked at me like I had broken an unspoken rule. My mother started crying. Mark denied everything at first, then stopped talking altogether. Claire sat very still beside me, her hands clenched, her face pale but steady. That day didn't fix my family. It fractured it, but it also drew a line. Claire stopped coming to family gatherings for a while. I did too. Distance settled in, uncomfortable but necessary. My parents eventually tried to smooth things over, saying they had only been trying to protect the family. I told them protection that destroys one person to save another isn't protection at all. Some truths change how you see people forever. I still love my family. But love without honesty isn't loyalty. And silence in the face of injustice is just another way of choosing sides. I didn't choose to overhear that conversation, but I chose what to do with it. And I will never regret choosing my sister when no one else would.